The new wave of British heavy metal had some iconic records come out in '82 with Number of the Beast and Screaming for Vengeance. These two bands, along with Saxon and, of course, Diamond Head, paved the way for a band like Metallica. How do you guys feel that that music influenced thrash metal? I want to know what you guys think about that. Because for me personally, I didn't know who those bands were. Well, I knew who Iron Maiden was. Of course, I knew who Judas Priest was. But the other bands like Saxon and Diamond Head and Budgie, who I believe is on the playlist, I knew of the Misfits, but I didn't know the Misfits until Garage Days. Garage Days for me was an entryway into all of this new wave of British heavy metal music, and listening to it again, putting this show together and making that playlist, you really see where those early bands latched on to maybe not so much the Iron Maiden, Judas Priest aspect of new wave of British heavy metal, and not even maybe the Def Leppard aspect, because that stuff is like revved up classic rock, and Iron Maiden might be the first ones going a little faster with it. I guess Judas Priest too. But when you hear a band like Diamond Head, you really understand early Metallica, in my opinion. Like, early Metallica to me is a Diamond Head cover band. And maybe all those bands are kind of a Diamond Head cover band, in my opinion. Mark Owen says, "Is Jay evil?" Yes, I am. I'm not going to do the original "Am I Evil?" because that dude's got a hell of a register. Also, if you listen to a lot of those new wave of British heavy metal bands, with the exception of Iron Maiden and Saxon, a lot of it sounds like they want to be early Led Zeppelin to me. Judas Priest's first record, not the biggest fan. I was talking to Burgess a while back, and he's like, I heard a song from that Judas Priest first album. Kind of like it. I think I sent him on Spotify, the Rock and Roller Roller. I went to search it out, right? I'm that guy. There's a patron that I talk to, and he always tries to find a band's early records. And sometimes a band's first record is not like David Bowie's first record, not very good. But I like to find bands' early stuff. Yeah. But yes, Rainbow's on the list as well. When you hear those early what will become thrash bands, it's like they took Maiden and Diamond Head and then took their limited abilities, because these are much younger people as well. We have to remember that, Maiden and Priest, they're pretty old by the time that these guys are hearing them. Probably in their mid to late 20s. Metallica and Slayer and the Megadeth guy, these early 20s, late teens, most of these dudes. And they're taking it with their limited abilities, and they're taking the aspect that they like from the music, which is going to be the galloping, rhythmic, palm muted playing is going to be like a very important function. And you really start to hear that with a lot of these early records. Like going through some of this stuff and hearing like some Crocus stuff, they're real big on it. Maybe the original is like Barracuda by heart. I to this day love that riff. As simple as it is, that riff with Ann Wilson over the top. But anyway, they take those aspects of that music, they turn it up to 100 and then kind of Americanize it. The soloing is not going to be as complex as what's going on with some of these bands. The UFO is on this playlist as well, and Uli Roth is a beast. Richie Blackmore is a beast. There's some great guitar playing from some of these guys. Um, so for me personally, I understand why my heroes musically pay an homage to this moment and why it's so important because heavy music is making some inroads into pop music. A lot of this stuff is charting. I believe Iron Maiden charts with the last album they did with Killers with Diano. And Bruce Dickinson is the natural maturation for that band. Go back and listen to those first two Maiden records, which I think are really good records. I thoroughly enjoy the self-titled and Killers. I actually really enjoy Diano's vocals. For me, it's like the two eras of Van Halen, and that's probably not a fair comparison because those two eras are such distinct eras because they lasted so long, and you really only have like a 4-year period with Iron Maiden. Maybe technically like a 3-year period, 2-year period. But when you hear Number of the Beast and what they become, Power Slave, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, Dickinson takes that band definitely into places that Diano couldn't go vocally and really opens those songs up. They can stay being a metal band. They don't really change that much musically, right? You know an Iron Maiden song when it comes on. It's not like you're like, oh, is that Limp Bizkit? What's Iron Maiden? Like that never happened, right? Throughout the years, that's never happened. Same thing with Judas Priest. You're never gonna be like, oh, is that is that Court? Like, no, never gonna say that. But I brought up the aspect of Thriller because when Michael Jackson does Off the Wall, which is a great record, it sits in a certain place in Black contemporary pop music. And we forget that music is so segregated. Maybe still to this day, the most segregated place in the world is music categorization. And I hate it. A little less so than now. And I stress a little. Un poquito. But still, we think of things as like race specific music for some reason. This is Black music. And when you listen to Off the Wall, that was Black pop music perfection at that time. I don't know who would want to deny that. It sold a fuck ton of records. More so after the fact with Thriller, but still, even at the time, it sold a fuck ton of records. By the time Thriller comes out, Michael Jackson is telling you with the marketing, and I don't think he sat there with marketing people and told them what to do. You're going to call me the king of pop. I shall be your leader. I don't think that's what happens. But to even pretend to have that crown, you have to do something that encompasses everybody. And again, Black pop music, especially in the MTV era, sat in such a still to this day sits in a different place for people. You think my white neighbors know who the fuck Luther Vandross is? And if anybody fucking comments, oh, that's ridiculous. Everyone knows who Luther Vandross is. No, they don't. No, they don't. But everybody knows who the fuck Michael Jackson is. And when you listen to a song like Beat It, I knew who Eddie Van Halen was before I heard Van Halen. My intro to Van Halen is Beat It. And I loved Beat It. I was dancing all over. My parents were still married. That's how long ago that shit was. I was dancing all over the house. You ever was a kid and then you had church shoes and you was trying to do the Michael Jackson spin in the kitchen with your church shoes on? Did you ever do that? I did that shit. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie at all. Shout out. Yeah, somebody says rest in peace, Quincy Jones. Yeah, shout out Quincy Jones. Great fucking record. But there's elements of that record that have to incorporate guitar-oriented music because guitar-oriented music, regardless of what you hear and read, I read so much because I'm writing this. I also want to send a shout out to Mike Watson and Revol Press as I send in my abstract for my section of the What Is Left of Metal. Come on, feel the noise. What killed hair metal? And it ain't grunge. It's my chapter where we talk about capitalist reproduction. But when you listen to Thriller, go back and listen to it. Great record. You understand, oh, I see why everybody likes this record. It's still got the dance hits, right? There's some kind of disco-y things because it comes out in 82. But it also has things, songs like Thriller, the title track. What is that? Like, seriously, tell me what Beat It and Thriller are. Are they funk? Are they rock? Right now, we're probably just going to say pop music, which is just popular. But really, what is Thriller? Why has no one written Thriller Part 2? And we live in capitalist reproduction. We're always trying to reproduce a hit. I haven't seen anyone write Thriller Part 2. Why can't you write Thriller Part 2? Is it that complex of a song? Why can't you write Beat It Part 2? There was something about that record encompassing these elements of not just rock music, but heavy rock music. Steve Lukather from Toto is already playing the rhythm on Beat It. Actually, he's playing, Toto is like the backing band for Thriller. So that's letting you know already. And this is at a moment where Toto is like a heavier rock band. They're not the Rosanna yacht rock band you think they are. Even listen to a song like Hold the Line. That's so heavy. Doom, 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 doom. Right? Bringing these white boys in. And it's not like there's not black people that can play that stuff. Go back and listen to the Isley Brothers if you don't believe me. Go back and listen to Parliament Funkadelic if you don't believe me. Go back and listen to Rick James if you don't believe me. Prince is a thing at this moment in time. So it's not like there's not black people at this moment that can't play what they're trying to do. He wanted a specific sound that was coming from a specific place. And it worked very well on that record. Very, very well on that record. And it's also kind of a sign of things to come. Now, when I watch all these documentaries about hair metal, it always starts with someone saying, rock music was dead. You got to the clubs in 81, and rock music was dead. And I was like, really? So the first thing I go do is, because so much is documented on the internet, right? And you can look and see the charts. You can see from 80 to 82 what was charting, what kind of music it was. Was synthesizer music played by younger people quite popular? Yes. Another thing we don't talk about enough is the change for synthy, what we would probably call new wave, rocky music, and punk. That's a thin line. That's literally going and saying, I'm not going to wear the jacket with the holes in it today, and I'll just button up the button-up shirt all the way and put a skinny tie on and keep the makeup. It's not a big leap for a lot of those people to tone, especially if you knew how to play your instrument, to tone down a little bit. Maybe bring a keyboard player in or not, because the music is already pretty simple. You're staying within the 3 chord, 2 chord song structure. The early synth stuff, I'm not a big fan. Like the early Depeche Mode stuff, oh, if I have to hear "I Just Can't Get Enough," oof. Violator, all day long. But I digress. We're talking about 82. But, one of the big songs from 1982 is "I Love Rock and Roll" by Joan Jett. It was the number 1 hit. There's a lot of charting songs on this playlist. So this idea that no one was doing rock and roll, everybody had a skinny tie and fucking synthesizer. It's like I get what you're trying to say is because punk music had worn out its welcome relatively quick in the LA club scene because those people were so destructive. Number 2, you bring a very unwanted police presence. One of the underreported things I think about when we talk about punk music, especially out of Southern California, and when I say punk, I mean like hardcore music, the early years of hardcore, is that the police were beating the shit out of those kids. Beating the shit out of those kids. Ask Bill Cody about it. Ask Henry Rollins about it. Ask Alice Bagg about it. Ask anybody that was there, and they'll tell you those motherfuckers hate cops. They hate cops with a hate that's, whew. You think NWA? No, them niggas don't hate cops, but them cats hate cops because they were literally getting in fights with them after the show. So who wants to have that level of negative police presence around your business that might already be doing some things mildly nefariously, right? We might be dealing a little blow out of the bank. We might be buying liquor in a way we're not supposed to buy liquor. We have a liquor license. We might be serving underage people. Do I really want the cops hanging out at my fucking spot all the time? Probably not. Right? I love all club owners, but that is a dark business. And the new wave guys didn't bring the same attention. They bring a different crowd. And not everybody wants to be part of your fucking transgressive fight club. Again, I've wrote about this, the culture of that music. It's very ostracizing. So, there are material reasons why people put on the skinny tie. And also, we have to remember a lot of people get into music not to be, the most important artist of all time and write a song that will bring peace to the world. I mean, they can think that in their minds because the ego is a motherfucker in the music industry. But legitimately, they want money. They want a job doing music. And if toning things down a little bit and changing your outfit can get you some success, is an easier pathway to a record deal, so be it.